Today on the Oprah Show, we have two special guests, a Roman and Mongolian citizen.
Hello, it's the younger version of Oprah. I would like for you all to give our guests a big round of applause. Our guests today are Augustus Caesar and Genghis Khan, and here they come now.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, would you like to introduce yourselves to the crowd and everyone watching on TV at home?
I'm Augustus Caesar, ruler of the Roman Empire.
And I'm Genghis Khan, ruler of the Mongolian Empire.
Welcome to the Oprah Winfrey Show. In addition to styles of rule, how would you say your social norms were?
Well, a social norm in the Roman Empire was slavery. We saw slaves as property, and they were mostly war criminals. Women, slave, and children could not vote in the Roman Empire, and women couldn't hold a political position in government. They did have a strong role in the economy, but not as much in politics.
Now I know that your social norms vary from most empires because
Yes, we were egalitarian. For our women, we gave them the same rights as men, even allowing them to choose their own husband and hunt on their own land.
now, Mr. Caesar, earlier you brought up economy, and branching off of economy, what was trade like?
Well, trade was done by sea routes that covered the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. And we Romans also used land routes by putting the roads that we had built to use, since we were and are the first empire to use roads.
Mr. Khan?
Well, we've created the Silk Road that expanded from the Black Sea to China. This created our trade, which was through road, and which made our merchants trade freely and safely.
Now, y'all also had a split within y'all's empires. Would y'all like to go in depth into that?
Well, the split in our empire happened a couple years after the Pax Romana had fallen apart. But what happened was Constantine had went to Constantinople, and they claimed their official religion to be Christianity, and we didn't claim that, so it split.
After my death, my empire was split into four different khanates, which were given to my grandsons.
Thank you for clearing that up for all our viewers. Although this was known as a peaceful time period, what were your military tactics?
Well, the Pax Romana military consisted of men ages 16 through 60. We used all types of weapons. One that I could think of right off my mind was the gladius. It was a short sword. It came from the Spain, from the villagers. And mostly our military tactics focused on getting into the enemy lines. And for some reason, we like to march a lot. So we would march just for days on before a battle.
Yeah, seems pretty tiring. What about you?
The Mongols, we would strike before the enemy, and we were divided into groups called tumens. We used flags and fires to alert each other of the enemy. We also used arrows, gunpowder, and bronze cannons to use against the enemy.
How did y'all's surrounding geography affect y'all?
Our geography allowed us to remain nomadic, and it also allowed us to raise our cattle and herds, which produced a lot of revenue.
Our geography caused our land to be very fertile since it was surrounding the sea, and so we were allowed to be a sedentary culture rather than a nomadic one.
Okay.
One.
As we all know, the way an empire is being ruled has a lot to do with the rulers themselves, like the way someone was brought up or who their parents were. So, can y'all give us a little insight on y'all's personal lives?
When I was young, my name was actually Tim Jim. I was born into my father's clan, a clan he was the chief of. Eventually, a rival clan managed to poison my father and captured me. I still managed to escape, and I did become the leader of my people and eventually of the Mongols.
Mr. Caesar?
Well, Augustus is a name I gave myself because it is a great name. I was born with the name Octavius, and I really my childhood I don't remember much of it, but Julius Caesar was my adoptive father. He did raise me as one of his own. After he died, after he was killed, we formed the second triumvirate. Triumvirate means three, and it included myself, Mark Antony, and Lepidus, who was rather irrelevant to our cause. This triumvirate soon failed, and I took over, and I began the Roman Empire. Before it was just known as the Roman Republic.
Thank you. What events or occurrences led to the periods of the Pax Romana and the Pax Mongolica?
Our creation of the Mongol Silk Road and infrastructure allowed us to be able to settle and establish my empire more.
Well, like I answered in a previous question, Julius Caesar's death led to the Civil War, which ended the Roman Republic, which led to me leading what is now known as the Roman Empire, and I set in some laws that would enforce this period of peace.
Okay. This time period lasted for a little while, so how long did it last?
For the Pax Mongolia, it lasted from the 13th to the 14th century.
What about the Pax Romana?
This period of peace lasted 200 years, from 27 BCE to 180 CE.
Long time. Well, that concludes today's show, and I would like to thank my guests for coming today. Y'all have a nice day. Thank you.
Welcome to Oprah Winfrey Show. Today we have two special guests, Augustus Caesar and Genghis Khan. Augustus Caesar was the founder of the Roman Empire in the 27 BC, and it lasted to 476 BCE. And Genghis Khan is the founder of the Mongolian Empire, which started in the 13th century and ended in the 14th century. The fall of Rome was different from India and China and Mongolia. Rome fell in more parts in the Mediterranean than others, and the fall was not in uniform, it was very corrupt. And the fall of the Mongolians was more because of the lack on hesitation of the Russians and the Ottomans' attack, and also because of their trade system, which led to the Black Death, which contributed to the fall. Augustus Caesar was the founder of the Roman Empire, which started in 27 BC and ended in the fall of Roman Empire was in 476 BCE. And Genghis Khan was the Mongolian founder, and it started in the 13th century through the 14th century.